Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, a little bit of a change of pace. We're going to be talking about Dez Bryant in terms of his analytics profile. We're going to go over his production data, his athleticism data, his age data, and most importantly, his NFL data to see what is he worth in the market today, what are some of the positives, what are some of the negatives about him, and ultimately come to some decisions as to why the Dallas Cowboys might have released him for whatever reason that was. We may not really know 100% why, but we will at least get some clues from the data. So if you're new to the channel and you're new to the work that I do, all terms and definitions will be in the description. And with that out of the way, let's get to Dez Bryant's profile. So first off, when you look at Dez Bryant's passing yardage market share production, he had a 97.35 out of 100 market share production score, which, as you can clearly see, since the 1969 NFL draft class, it hits every single long-term threshold you want. 5-time All-Pro, 3-time All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowl, and long-term starter threshold. So he essentially had pretty much hit every single high upside threshold you want. On top of that, when you get to the averages at the position, so the average All-Pro score, the average Pro Bowl score, and the average starter score, he pretty much hit above the averages in every single metric as well. So from a production standpoint, Dez Bryant checked all the boxes. When you get to his age score, he had a 94.74 age score, which since the 1999 NFL draft class, 100% of multiple All-Pro wide receivers were at least 80 or higher in terms of their age, with 51 as the Pro Bowl threshold. And again, the age score essentially takes the age of a prospect and then percentile scores it based on youngest to oldest. So the higher you score, the younger you are, basically the higher your score is. So again, Dez Bryant was a very young player coming out. Pretty high chance of being a prodigy, if that makes any sense. And then, of course, you look at his MSA rating, which is, the MSA rating is where you take market share data, plus age data, plus strength of schedule data. So essentially it's looking at, okay, how productive were you, how old were you, and on top of that, how tough your schedule was. And he scored a 97.23 in that particular metric, which since 1999, the bottom end threshold for All-Pro potential was 79 or higher, and Pro Bowl potential was 71 or higher when it comes to that particular data point. So checked every single box, in terms of being a guy to go on to become a multiple All-Pro to multiple Pro Bowl wide receiver. He did have some character concerns coming out. I'm not going to get too much into that, but that definitely is something to mention with him, because that's something that's cited a lot, was his upbringing, some of the stuff he kind of had to deal with growing up as a child. So that's definitely something to kind of think about a bit, but not something I'm going to dwell on too much, because it's not really data related, but it is something just to kind of throw out there about him. As there are a couple character rumblings about him, which is why he wasn't exactly a top 10 overall selection. Now, when you get to his actual NFL data, so this chart right here looks at his MSPY, which is his passing yardage market share at the NFL level. MSY is total market share, so that's basically what his impact was on his team yardage wise overall, instead of just comparing him against passing. Win score just shows you how many wins there were that year. PD is point differential. Margin of victories in MoV. Strength of schedule is SOS. SRS is just a simple rating of the team in general. OSRS is the offensive rating. DSRS is the defensive rating. Now, the thing I want to really show you in this chart is one, MSPY, which is just his total yardage, and MSY. The one thing I could say about Dez Bryant in his career is he was a guy who was kind of a little bit slow to become a tremendously impactful part of an offense, but as soon as he hit his stride from 2012 to 2014, he really hit it out of the park. Again, had 90+ percentile seasons in 2012 to 2014. Then 2015 kind of fell off a bit. 2016 was kind of a little and then kind of recovered a little bit in 2017. But as you can clearly see, he's not a guy who's been consistently a 90+ percentile offensive contributor throughout most of his career. Just that one section right there. Some of that has to do with, the quarterback changeover. Tony Romo, there was that shift from Tony Romo to Dak Prescott, which definitely probably had some impact. He also missed a couple games here and there due to, various different reasons as well. But ultimately, when it comes to Dez Bryant, he's someone who has had decent production, but not necessarily the type of production that his pre-draft markers said he was going to have. And then when we get to his conversion rate data, so again, this is first down conversion rate. So basically the ability for a wide receiver to take a catch and turn it into a first down, compared to all of the receptions that they had. So this doesn't really take into account targets. It just takes into account how often, when the ball gets into the wide receiver's hands, how often does that turn into a first down, and then compares it to every single wide receiver performance since the 2011 NFL draft class. Not draft class, but season. And when you look at Dez Bryant, well, actually further than that, 2009, excuse me. And when you look at this particular data, the one thing I can say about Dez Bryant that's very consistent, he's always been very good in terms of third down conversion rate throughout most of his career. 2011, 2013, 14, 16, and even 17, he had a fairly decent third down conversion rate. He's also been pretty decent at second down, but first down's been kind of his Achilles heel. He's always never been the best wide receiver in terms of the ability to convert first downs into first downs on first down, which is a mouthful to say, but essentially he's a guy who does really well on second down, does really well on third down when he's at his peak, but doesn't really do as well when it comes to, taking a ball, whenever it's 1st and 10 or those other sort of situations. He's never really that amazing in terms of getting the ball in his hands and getting that first down initially on that first down. But that's definitely kind of the pros and cons of him. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination. He definitely has some sweet spots to him that I think is well worth it in the grand scheme of things. And then we get to his completion percentage. So this particular chart deals with, how often when a pass gets thrown to him, it becomes a completion. Some people talk about, this isn't really catchability though, because that's a totally different thing that involves more charting and more different information there. This purely just has to do with, how often he's targeted and how often those targets lead to receptions. Oftentimes this can kind of give you somewhat of an idea of, not really target placement, but usually if the target placement is better, then you're going to get more completions. It also can tell you a little bit about, just his ability to get open, to make these plays. There's a lot of things to dissect here, but the bottom line is, the one thing that's clear in Dez Bryant's data, when you look at completion percentage, or at least, his ability to convert, his targets into completions, is that he, from 2010 to 2011, or particularly at his peak, so again, at his peak production, which was 2012 to 2014 in terms of his overall offensive, contributions, he's been pretty okay in terms of completions on first down, second down. Third down is a little wishy-washy. But 2015, 2016, 2017, you can clearly see a difference in terms of just the amount of completions on first down, the amount of completions on second down to a certain extent, and even the amount of completions on third down. There's a noticeable drop between his ability to have completion, actual completions, when you target him on third down, that actually ending up being a completion on third down in particular. So I do think there is something to say that some of the drop-off could easily be quarterback play. That could be something you could point to. And there have been other people in the past who have brought up that fact that, Tony Romo was a very accurate passer for the most part. And then you go from having Tony Romo to Dak Prescott, who is decent. I'm not dissing Dak Prescott at all. I think in terms of just his overall contributions, he's performed very well for a rookie, and also in his second year was not exactly as bad as people made it out to be. But there definitely is a noticeable drop-off in terms of just, the ability to complete passes in certain situations. So there definitely is something to say that Dez Bryant also kind of maybe fell off of it because of his, quarterback play. But I can also say this, is that age age is another sort of factor to kind of consider with Dez Bryant. When you look at the number of above-average wide receiver performances, by the context of age, Dez Bryant is going to be turning 30 years old, and that is not exactly when the steep decline happens, but do realize that you're going to be getting the later half of his his career. Most of the time, wide receivers, in terms of just their impact, above average impact, they usually peak around age 25, and then 26, 27, 28, 29, there's decent amount of production, and then 30 to around 31, 32, 33, you start to see noticeable drop off. Age 33, start to see a big drop off, and then 34, 35, 36. Some of them stick around, but most of the time, once you hit that area, you're seeing a huge drop off in usage. And I'm not saying that the Cowboys definitely released Dez Bryant because of age factors, because I really don't see anything in the data to really indicate a huge drop off in Dez Bryant's performances, other than the fact that his usage was just kind of all over the place in the last 3 years. But that definitely is something to kind of consider again with Dez Bryant, is that you're going to be getting a guy who is going to be, declining. Like he's going to hit a wall eventually, and it may not be in the next 3 years, but it definitely might be after that 3 years. So that is another sort of thing to kind of think about when it comes to Dez Bryant. But the bottom line is, when it comes to Dez Bryant as a prospect, as a player, he still has the goods. He's still someone who's going to contribute pretty well on third down. He's still someone who is going to contribute well on second down. And yeah, he definitely probably has lost a step, but I still think that you have a very productive wide receiver that can contribute as a decent chain mover on second down and third down situations. So as far as like being elite wide receiver, he just hasn't really proven the production chops for that type of thing. But I definitely would view Dez Bryant as a very Alshon Jeffrey-esque prospect, in the grand scheme of things. So I think if you're looking for a wide receiver to contribute in an Alshon Jeffrey-like way, then I think Dez Bryant is that wide receiver for you. If you're looking for a slot wide receiver to keep the completion percentage high, he's not really going to be that guy, but he's definitely someone who can still be a big target and still contribute in those second down and third down situations. So that's how I think you should view Dez Bryant. And with all that stuff out of the way, of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded another video of mine drops. Also, be sure to wait for the 2018 NFL Draft reviews. Those are going to be coming up very soon as well. Probably tomorrow I'm going to start dropping those draft grade reviews in terms of data-wise of the of various different teams, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Also, check out the 2018 NFL Draft Analytics Guide available on Amazon.com. Link is in the description. With all that out of the way, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace!